What's going on, everyone? I hope everyone had an amazing weekend. Today is Sunday. We are going to have an amazing week of trading. We won't feel down on ourselves if we miss out on any opportunities, and we're going to make amazing trading decisions this week. All right, so let's get right into it. All right, so this is a 15-minute chart of the SPY. All right, and on Friday, I said that these would be the important levels to watch. The resistance at 413.74, support at 410.60. All right, so this is 9:45 on Friday, and we can see that we crossed above 413.74 on this candle. And on Twitter, I actually posted that, forexfactory.com basically shows macroeconomic news on a daily basis of what's going on, and it's a very, very important tool to understand and to use and to check every day. So on Twitter, I screenshotted that we would have flash manufacturing PMI and flash services PMI, as well as new home sales coming out at these times. But I didn't make it a post. I commented and I replied to someone's comment on it. So I should have made it a post. So basically at 9:45, you can see that these news came out. And then at 10 o'clock, this news came out. So if you go to forexfactory.com, you look at the important news for the day. And you just look at, US dollar. Obviously, there are a lot of other important macroeconomic news for other countries. But if you're just starting out, it's just start with US dollar and just start with America. All right. So obviously, the darker the color of the impact, the more impact it will have. So today, or Friday, basically, we got PMI news and new home sales. So if you're not sure what PMI is, you can go ahead and just click PMI, and it gives you basically an explanation of what it is. PMI is just basically an indicator of how private companies are doing, and it shows like the relative level of business conditions, including employment, production, new orders, prices, supplier deliveries, and inventories. So you basically click on this little detail here, and it explains what it is. So at 9:45, we reported the forecast was 61.6. The actual number for the PMI was 63.1. So that is a very bullish sign, okay? And then at 10 o'clock, we were reporting new home sales. The forecast was 885,000. It reported 1021. So again, these are very, very bullish signs, all right? And the fact that on the SPY, we were crossing above these levels at 9:45 and at 10 o'clock, that could have helped you understand, look, like we just crossed above resistance. Really, really solid bullish news just came out on the macroeconomic side of the market. So it gives a better understanding and it gives confluence that, we can continue on upward. All right. And I just became very, very bullish after this. And it also made me more bullish on Bitcoin and Mara, etc. Because we had that news and because the SPY crossed above resistance. All right. So as you can see, we crossed above the resistance level, made new all-time highs on the SPY. But then again, we stopped basically exactly at this level of resistance that we have been monitoring for quite some time. I'm not sure why I pronounced it that way. But all right, so basically, if you wanted to go short, and you didn't think that the market was going to continue on upward, right? The level that you would have to go short against was right here, okay? This candle right here at 414.83. Obviously, we began, teetering a bit here, but then at 10:30, this 15-minute candle crossed above it and closed. So that is when you would need to stop and sell your shorts. Obviously, that would be a very loose stop loss, but that is 100% when you would absolutely know that the market is going to go bullish for the rest of the day. And that is exactly what happened. Not even necessarily for the rest of the day, but at least for the next hour or two, okay? And that's exactly what happened. We crossed above this level. It was prior resistance on the 15-minute candles. And, for the next hour, we continued going upward, and then we consolidated a bit more here. And then we retested new all-time highs, and we retested this resistance level. All right, so that really worked out perfectly. You guys really need to be watching forexfactory.com every day and monitor macroeconomic news. That's very important, and basically make it with confluence along these levels that I post. And that's really it. It's really very simple. If you see that there's really good news on, macroeconomic news where our actual numbers are higher than the forecast and we just crossed above resistance, yeah, that's a very bullish sign. All right, so these are now the new levels that we need to watch on the SPY. Resistance is right here and right here at 418.50 and 419.15, with support obviously along these levels right here at 414.83 and 413.69. Okay, so I didn't bother posting any other support levels, but these are the levels to watch for Monday on the SPY. So now if we look at the SPY on a daily time frame, you can see that on the MACD, we are very oversold, but now we're at resistance. So the last time we were this oversold, it was on March 25th. And you remember, you can see that the huge move we'd have when we were this oversold. All right, so now we're oversold once more at resistance. That is a very good sign. That is a very bullish sign because we are extremely oversold. And we've been moving very bullishly. We retested a new all-time high. Things look pretty good on the SPY, in my opinion. If we can cross these levels, then sky is the limit. Honestly, it looks very good. But again, we could be wrong, but we just have to trade these levels blindly. On the daily time frame, it looks good. All right, that's all we know for sure. All right, so now this is a 15-minute chart of the QQQ, which is the Nasdaq. All right, so not as clean of a break at the first resistance level as the SPY. So I said that 337.30 was resistance. We see that it was trading around that level after 9:45, and then it broke at 10 o'clock. Right, so you could have bought as it crossed above the resistance. You could have had a stop loss even right here below 337. You could have sold, or a a safer stop loss would have been below 335. Sorry, 336.30. Right, so you could have sold right here as well. So there were multiple levels that you could have had stop losses against. But if you weren't sure about where to go and where to have your stop loss, if you really wanted to wait, a break above 338.22 was your absolute, that was your ticket to go long. And as you can see, we didn't even need to have like a stop loss as we crossed above it. It was a very clean break. But yeah, I didn't bother getting into the Qs for day trade. I was monitoring the SPY, right? Because the Qs were lagging compared to the IWM. And when you're trading, right, you have to watch all of these indicators, all of these indices at the same time. You have to see which one is doing the best. And obviously, if the IWM is doing the best, that would mean that the Nasdaq is not doing as good as the IWM. That means that the IWM is the one that is pulling the SPY up primarily, okay? And then as we saw, the SPY traded and tested new all-time highs. The Nasdaq actually didn't. All right, so you have to take those things into consideration. But the fact that the Nasdaq also, crossed above these resistance levels was very important as well. So, but no, sorry. So if you were to go long, real quick, if you were to go long against 337.30, the absolute level that you would have a stop loss under would be 336.60. All right, right here, you see that there was multiple levels of support. It was acting as resistance. I got confused. I couldn't find the candle, but a really far away level of support that you could have had was $1 away, right here as well at 336.30. So yeah, those were the levels that you could have traded against. You have to look at the overall market and all of the other indices to see how everything was trading. But yeah, so these are the levels of resistance and support now on the Qs. The support levels are going to be 339.34 and 338.22. Right. The resistance is going to be 340.76. The levels on the Qs aren't as clean as the SPY, and yeah, you're gonna have to bear with me. I'm fasting. I don't really sleep much, and I haven't eaten or drank anything since sunrise. All right, so yeah, bear with me. But yeah, these are levels on the Qs. Let's look at it on a daily time frame. All right, on a daily time frame, the March 1999 level and the March 2020 level sort of get out of whack, and there's not really much I can do about that. So just don't really pay attention to these on a daily time frame. But yeah, the MACD is very, very oversold, way more oversold than it was in March. And we're at resistance. This, yeah, man, the overall market looks so scarishly bullish. It doesn't make any sense, but it just looks so bullish. Yeah, if it crosses above these levels of resistance, then we're going to retest all-time highs and then potentially break even further. So yeah, I would just be watching this level of resistance. Yeah, these levels of support overall looks amazingly bullish on the daily time frame as well. And this is a chart of the NDX. This is, you know, the Nasdaq as well, and we can see that it's trading above, but it has more data points, right? And this is trading above the January 1999 level as well as the December 1999 level, and this is acting as support now. So that is also very, very bullish. We can see that it's very oversold on the MACD as well. So yeah, the tech sector and the S&P 500 look very, very bullish. All right, so now this is a chart of the IWM, which is the Russell 2000. So the Russell is much more economically sensitive. So when there is macroeconomic news that is either good or bad, the IWM does better or worse than the overall market. All right, so as you can see, at 9:45, when that news came out, we skyrocketed and catapulted above this level of resistance at 224.09, right? And then, you know, 10 o'clock, we continued going on higher, and then we eventually crossed above this level of resistance as well. And similar to the SPY, this trend line essentially was also acting as resistance. So we crossed above it momentarily only because, you know, the IWM had such a strong day today. But again, it failed at this level of resistance. And yeah, that's really it for the IWM. We're just going to be watching these levels. Take into account that the IWM is much more economically sensitive. Make sure to keep your eye on macroeconomic news from forexfactory.com. And these are the levels of resistance and support on the IWM: 226.50, which is this trend line here, and obviously 224.10, which is this level of support here. And personally, it looks like the IWM and the SPY have easier trading levels, personally, than the Nasdaq. So I would be watching the SPY and the IWM way more than the Nasdaq. But obviously, if the Nasdaq just starts catapulting and, you know, leading, then you have to look at the Nasdaq. So now, if you look at the IWM on a daily chart, you can see that the MACD is beginning to cross above, which is a bullish sign, but we aren't as oversold on the IWM as we are on the SPY and the QQQ. When we are extremely oversold, that means that there is much more room to the upside. But the fact that we are now crossing above, it's bullish, but it doesn't mean that there is as much room to the upside on the IWM as there is on the SPY and the QQQ. So again, you know, we're still oversold. We're crossing above now at resistance, which is still very bullish on the IWM. So yeah, we just have to look at these levels blindly. Things can look bullish right now, but then news can come out Monday morning and, you know, can hit the fan. All right, so just keep that into consideration. Now, let's look at Bitcoin. All right, so as you know, Bitcoin has been falling. It's had lots of bad news, and now I think that the level that's needs to hold. Actually, before we go into that, there's another huge lower wick, and you know, we've been saying that, you know, whenever there is large wicks to the upside or to the downside, at least from my experience of looking at these wicks, at least 78% of the wick tends to get filled. All right, so now a nice little easy way you can go ahead and check that is you go ahead and draw a Fibonacci retracement from the top to the bottom of that wick. Oops, sorry, from the bottom to the top of that wick. And you can see that approximately 78% of that wick is going to be around 48,500. All right. So I think at least 48,500 or 600 should at least be touched on Bitcoin and filled. But overall, this level right here from back in December 21st, we can see that there was multiple touches on this level. This level really needs to hold on Bitcoin. I think above 46,500 to 47,000 holds. And if we get a bounce off of this level for continued upside, that would be very, very bullish. And I think this level holds because, as you can see, Bitcoin is extremely, extremely oversold on the MACD. And it still held this level of support very well, which is the 78.6% fib level from a prior move at 47,000. So 47,000 still held, which is still very, very bullish on Bitcoin. Obviously, in the short term, a lot of people took profit. But again, what you have to understand is that when there is a very sharp move to the downside, there is at least a relief rally to approximately usually at least 38% of this downward move. So if we were to go ahead and calculate that, we would get at least 54,000 on Bitcoin. And I think that's doable because there was a lot of news about inflow or US dollar tether. So that means that there's a lot of people putting money into dollars on the crypto market, on blockchain, to transfer that into buying more Bitcoin. And a lot of whales are, buying these dips, and, people that are long-term very bullish on Bitcoin and not just trading it, they're looking at these dip buying opportunities as very, very good opportunities to get, longer term, much more profit on Bitcoin. So I think these levels hold. Those are the levels that you really need to watch. The 48,500 to 400 level, which is approximately 70% of this wick. Yeah, I think we end up potentially even making new all-time highs within the next month. But yeah, let's see what happens on Bitcoin. So now let's go ahead and look at Ethereum. So as you can see, Ethereum is so all right, Bitcoin. So Ethereum is basically trading around this area right here, where Bitcoin is around 57, 56, 58,000, right? But Ethereum is trading, much higher. So that is very, very bullish for Bitcoin. The fact that Ethereum didn't also crap out to the downside, it just means that, more money is in altcoins right now. It's altcoin season. Lots of cheaper, crappier altcoins are doing really, really well. And again, obviously, on the daily time frame, Ethereum is also very, very oversold at resistance. It needs to cross above 23,016, 2316 and 2341. It needs to hold above those levels, consolidate a bit, and then break up. But yeah, Bitcoin is the clear underperformer, and it's just overall blockchain market is very, very good. It's just a really, really good time, and we haven't even broken into the longer term all-time high cycle. If you look at the all-time high cycles from 2012, from all of the bull markets, all of these, we haven't even approached the usually it happens on like the 220th day or something. We haven't even approached that day yet. There's still a few months to go, in my opinion, on the bull market. So yeah, essentially just these levels need to hold right here at 46,500 and 47,000. And it's a very, very, very good sign that Ethereum is still trading around these resistance levels. All right, so there's that for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Crude oil still looks very bullish as well. It bounced off of the 20 exponential moving average that we were monitoring, and we were saying, needed to hold, and we can see that it bounced above it. So crude oil doing well means that the overall market is still very strong. The dollar week is very good for the equities, which is what we saw on Friday. It failed to break above 91.382, even though the MACD is now crossing above. The fact that the dollar is now moving down while the MACD is moving in a bullish way potentially is very, very bad for the dollar. And if the dollar goes down, usually the stocks and equities go up. All right, so that is a very good sign for the overall stock market. All right, so now I'm going to go over the technical analysis on stocks of the stocks that you guys wanted me to go over. All right, so now this is Apple on a daily time frame. Obviously, it follows the Nasdaq and the SPY very strongly. We can see on a daily time frame the MACD is also extremely oversold, which is very, very bullish. We are approaching key levels of resistance at 135, but the fact that we're oversold on the MACD, approaching resistance, that is a very, very bullish sign for Apple. And if Apple can break that level, then it's going to retest this trend line here at 138. So that is going to be very, very interesting to see in this week if that can happen. But then again, you have to realize that Apple has earnings on April 28th. All right, so here is a quick calendar of all of the earnings that we're going to have this week. Lots and lots of different companies going to be reporting earnings this week. This is going to be a very, very important week. Lots of companies are reporting earnings, and this is going to be like a make or break sort of time, really. If a lot of these companies end up reporting bad earnings, then all of these stocks at resistance are going to fail. But if they report good earnings, we're going to skyrocket. So yeah, I would really take into consideration this calendar right here. Take a picture of it, just pause the video, and just take note of when all of these stocks are going to be reporting earnings. Anyway, let's check out Mara. So Mara, I bought a few calls. I posted it on Twitter as it crossed above 29.55. 29.55 is support on Mara. 32.30 is resistance. As you can see, we're extremely oversold at resistance. We're literally touching it now. So if this fails, then the level of support that would need to hold is around 30.90. And yeah, that would need to hold. But we're currently extremely oversold at resistance. Bitcoin held support pretty well. And essentially, it all just matters about Bitcoin. And now if you look at RIOT's chart, it looks very similar. The support level that needs to hold on RIOT is 34.25. We stopped at resistance, and the resistance level is 38.48. And from here, if we fail, the level of support that would need to hold is around $36. All right. And as well, you know, we're oversold at resistance, and we're going to be keying off of Bitcoin. All right. Etsy. Etsy looks very, very bullish longer term. But yeah, the level of resistance that needs to break is 219.20. We're curling up on the MACD, which is extremely bullish. If we can cross above that level, consolidate a bit, and you know, there's no reason for it not to potentially even touch 250 again. But the levels of support that would need to hold are the 20 exponential moving average. As you can see, all throughout this period here, we were trading basically above it. And on Friday and Thursday, we bounced above it. So the 20 exponential moving average is essentially at 210. So if we fail this level here, 210 would need to hold, especially because the MACD is looking very bullish. If we break 210 while the MACD is looking bullish, that just doesn't look very good. And also we have earnings on May 5th. So keep that in consideration. PLTR, it had a very bullish move on Friday because the rest of the market, you know, had a very bullish move. We are trading above the 61.8% fib level at 22.85. And we crossed above the 20 exponential moving average. So essentially, the 28.285 level needs to hold as support. If that can hold, then this trend line that we have, this trend line from back in October, right? If we can reclaim that, which would be at around 24.40, if we can reclaim that level and start trading above it, then PLTR is going to go parabolic. So in my opinion. But yeah, 2285 needs to hold as support. The MACD is now crossing above the MACD line, which is very, very bullish. And again, we're bullish. We just crossed above support. 2430 needs to hold. Or 2430 needs to break. And 2285 needs to hold on PLTR. Microsoft, I mean, just look at it. Like, it's friggin' parabolic. It's basically testing new all-time highs. The level that needs to hold. And, we have... sorry, excuse me. We have earnings on April 27th. So the level of support that we need to hold is 257. 257.27. And the level of resistance is obviously the prior all-time high at 261.78. All right, so now those are the levels that really need to either hold or break on Microsoft. If the MACD line can cross above and we can make a new all-time high and then consolidate above this level, then, sky's the limit. But just take into consideration that we have earnings on April 27th, so just be careful. And me personally, I don't hold anything overnight into earnings. So this week is going to be very, very, I'm not sure if I'm going to be holding much overnight on the indices. Might be small. I'll let you guys know. But again, a lot of these major stocks are going to be having, they're going to be reporting earnings. So yeah, just take that into consideration. ALB looks pretty good as well. It crossed above 23.6% fib level at 165.85 periodically on Friday, but it couldn't hold above and it fell back down to support. So the support level that needs to hold is 156.76. If that breaks, then the other level of support is the 38.2% fib level at 151.93. So if those two levels as support hold, and essentially it might give enough steam for it to break to the upside. But you need to consider is the MACD is now overbought. So if the MACD was oversold and we were sitting at support or at resistance, that would be much more bullish. But, as you can see from the indices and everything, if you're already overbought a bit on the MACD, it means that you're getting tired. It means that momentum is starting to slow down a bit. So we have to watch those key levels on ALB. SIOX had a very, very bullish few days as well. We can see that the 61.8% fib level at 255 is essentially basically confluent with the 20 exponential moving average at 254. All right, so now those levels need to break for it to continue to the upside. We can see that it did periodically, but it couldn't hold. So 244 needs to hold as support. 255 needs to break as resistance. The MACD crossed above, which is bullish. Let's see if we can have another green day on SIOX, and if that green day can propel us above 255. All right, so those are the levels to watch on SIOX. POAI. All right, so now POAI, again, we're crossing above on the MACD. We stayed above support at $1.01. And now for tomorrow, it needs to cross above $1.13 for it to cross above this downtrend that we have from March 11th. All right. We can see that it broke above it periodically, just a bit, but for 2 days, actually. But it was a fake out. It fell back down, and now we're trading within this downtrend once more. So it needs to cross above 113, and it needs to stay above 101 on POAI. And basically, this 20 exponential moving average, would be the next level of resistance above this downtrend. All right, so PTK. PTK, it doesn't really look that liquid. It barely has any volume. It's not that great of a stock to trade. As you can see, there's if you look at the top, if you look at right here, there's barely any volume, and there's so many different other stocks that are so much better to trade. But essentially for tomorrow, 980 needs to hold on PTK to remain in this uptrend. And the one good thing about it is that we're extremely oversold on the MACD. oversold at resistance or oversold at support. That is a good sign. Means that there's a lot more room to the upside. If we were overbought at support, then I would be very, very scared for PTK. But, 980 needs to hold on PTK, and we could potentially go on much higher. EDF, we actually did analysis on this before. This was a falling wedge pattern. Falling wedges are very, very bullish. We can see that it broke this descending pattern right here from April 1st, and it skyrocketed above all of the resistance levels that we had as well. So that in one day, so that's pretty amazing. So now this level needs to hold at 325 as support, and then the resistance is at 370. So you just have to see how it responds at 325 now. If 325 can hold and we consolidate a bit, then we can cross above 370 and then cross into like 450 essentially. We can see that the MACD is now overbought. Obviously the MACD would get overbought from a 65% move. So let's see if we can, stay above 325. Really, that's it. On EDF. GIVO, it crossed above its descending pattern as well, which is very, very bullish. It retested the bottom level of it, and it crossed above key resistance levels at 644, sorry. So 644 needs to hold on GIVO, and then the next level of resistance is at 713. So as long as we're holding 20 cents away, your target would be above 713. So that is a pretty decent risk reward in a trading sense. That's almost a 3-to-1. So that would be a pretty good trade on GIVO currently. 644 needs to hold. We can see that the MACD just crossed above, and we just crossed above this descending pattern right here, this level of resistance. So overall, it looks pretty bullish on GIVO above 644. Tesla looks very, very bullish as well, but again, there's earnings Monday after the close, so these levels really don't mean as much. And I personally don't hold anything through earnings unless they're completely lottos and I'm willing to lose the entire position. Unless you're holding stocks also. Options is what I'm saying. Options, I never hold options through earnings unless I already have the options from weeks and months in advance. Or unless I'm willing to just completely gamble on it. So yeah, the level of resistance that needs to break for Tesla is 736. And the level of support is going to be 709.29. So yeah, we're still very oversold on the MACD, which is very bullish. We're oversold at resistance. So that is very important for Tesla. Okay. So I would just be watching that. And yeah, don't get sucked into anything crazy with Tesla options because you can really lose a lot of money, especially because of the implied volatility. It's going to be huge on the day of earnings. All right, so just be careful. BlackBerry, we can see that it crossed above this level of resistance as well. It retested it a bit and continued on upward. But now the level of resistance is going to be, as you can see, the 20 exponential moving average at 893. All right, so 893 needs to break. And essentially $9 really needs to break at BlackBerry. That's going to be the resistance. The level of support is going to be essentially around 850. All right, so that, and BlackBerry essentially is going to, be very, very in confluent with, the other meme stocks, GameStop and AMC, etc. But the fact that it crossed out of this falling wedge pattern is very, very bullish. So let's see if we can continue on higher. Another thing to watch on BlackBerry is that we just crossed above the MACD, but the MACD is now a bit overbought. So let's see if we can have another day or two of potential upside for the MACD to, afterward to cool down just a little bit and consolidate for BlackBerry, the price, and it would potentially give more room to the upside. So just be careful about $9 resistance on BlackBerry. Netflix clearly didn't do well for earnings. So if you look at this level from back here in June 29th, multiple touches here, and now we're sitting at that level of support, right? So essentially $5 needs to hold on Netflix. All right, if $500. If $500 doesn't hold on Netflix, then that is going to be very, very bearish for Netflix. All right. If $500 holds, then you know you can go long against that level. But it's all about this trend line right here. $500. It needs to hold on Netflix. And then obviously, you know, we can fill this gap and you can get all excited about the upward targets and how amazing of a risk reward this trade is. But if this trend line doesn't hold, then it's going to look very, very bad for Netflix at $500. All right. Kinder Morgan. KMI. All right. KMI had a very, very good day. You can see that the MACD on a daily is now just about to cross above the MACD line, which is amazing. So we're crossing above, essentially at resistance, right? We crossed above another key level of resistance. So this level is going to be support, the 23.6% fib level at 1662. All right, 1662 needs to hold. If that holds, then 1697 can easily break on KMI. And also the fact that we also crossed above the 20 exponential moving average at 1666, that is also a very, very bullish sign. If you look at the moving averages, you can see that it crossed above the 10 moving average today as well. So KMI had a very, very strong move today. So yeah, 1662 needs to hold. If that can hold, it's a really good sign because the MACD is now crossing above. So if the MACD crosses above, which is a very bullish sign, and the fact that we crossed above these resistance levels means that we can potentially cross above 1697. So I'd be watching 1697 on KMI. JMIA, which is the Amazon of Africa. I was very, very long-term bullish on it back in November. And this rode all the way up to 60. So now it needs to, you know, we need to see how it responds around these two levels of resistance. At 3142 and $33. If those levels can be reclaimed, then that is going to be very, very bullish. And also Amazon has earnings today, and JMIA is definitely going to be affected by Amazon earnings most likely. So 3142 and $33 need to break on JMIA. It's also pretty bullish that the MACD is also starting to curl up. So yeah, I would just, those are the key levels of resistance, and overall it looks pretty good because the MACD is about to curl up as well. So yeah, that's JMIA. Boeing looks very, very bullish as well, but it has earnings on April 27th. So for Boeing, obviously 230 needs to hold, 230.22, but let's hope, you know, that doesn't get retested anytime soon. But for tomorrow, essentially the level that needs to break is going to be today's highs, Friday's highs at 238.58. So 238.58 needs to break. The level of support that needs to hold would be right here at 237. And that would be a clean retest of this downward trend line here. As you can see, the last time we had a downward trend line, we crossed above it and we continued on higher. So if we can retest that, if we can recreate that, that would be very, very important. The next level of resistance for Boeing would be at 343.82. Okay, it looks overall bullish because the MACD is now crossing above. So we're oversold at resistance. It's the same concept for a lot of these stocks, okay? JD.com. So a lot of Chinese companies are starting to turn and become bullish. You can see NEO as well. So JD is also similar. We were in this huge downtrend. We crossed above it. We retested it. So now the level that needs to hold for tomorrow on JD is going to be 75.60. All right. If 75.60 can hold, the level above on JD is going to be confluent with the 20 exponential moving average at 79.71. And the 20 exponential moving average is 79.77. So overall, that is a very important level to watch. We can see that the MACD just crossed above it. So usually when this happens, let's see if we can have another day or two of positive momentum. And we might, test $79 at least, and then see a move to the downside afterward. But it overall looks bullish for the short term. For the long term, it needs to cross above 79.71, consolidate a bit, and then move on higher. But again, we have earnings on May 10th, so just keep that in mind. X1. X1 is also, at resistance, oversold, crossing above. We can see that there's a downtrend here. So we held the 78.6% fib level at 2146 very well. So now tomorrow, the level that needs to break as resistance is 2455. So 2455 needs to break. If we can break that, then we can retest the 20 exponential moving average at 2716. All right, and then obviously the next level of resistance is going to be $31. So yeah, if we can break this downtrend, those would be the levels to watch and to take into consideration. ACTC, 1385 needs to hold as support. The fact that we are trading now above the 20 exponential moving average is a very good sign. So in the short term, $16 would need to hold. We can see that the MACD crossed above. So we are, now getting overbought on the MACD. So $16 needs to hold above. If you want to be really, really tight with your stop loss, the 20 exponential moving average would need to hold at 1657. If those two levels holds and we can consolidate a bit, we can easily see $20 again. Okay. So yeah, that's what it is on ACTC. BEPC, we're in an uptrend from March 5th. We bounced off of this uptrend. We're extremely oversold on the MACD. We're curling up. So we're curling up at support, which is a bullish sign. The upward levels of resistance are going to be 4460, 4475, and this 20 EMA at 4595. All right. So those are the two levels of resistance. And the level of support that we need to hold for tomorrow is going to be 4260. And yeah, that's what it is on BEPC. TSX. So the TSX looks very, very bullish as well. We can see that we're oversold at support. So essentially for tomorrow, 19,040 needs to hold. If 19,040 holds, then we can continue on to the upside. But then, the resistance level is going to be 19,180. And then, if we can hold this level of support, then I don't see why we can't retest these highs here. So that's what I would be watching on TSX. OCGN had an enormous move on Friday. So it needs to stay above 929, right? If it can consolidate and stay above 929, that would be very, very important for OCGN. If you're currently long OCGN, it depends on where you bought. But if you bought at the close, then 929 needs to hold. If that breaks, then it can continue on going further down. And now, obviously, we can see that it's extremely overbought on the MACD. So just take that into consideration. 929 is a very important level for OCGN. Okay. IDEX 252 needs to hold on IDEX. Okay, we just crossed above on the MACD level. So we're at support. We just crossed above. So we don't have as much room to the upside. But 252 needs to hold as support. And then the level of resistance is this uptrend level that we have here at 280. So if 285 can break the upside, that would be very bullish. Also, another level of resistance is the 20 exponential, which is 277. So 277 and then 285 need to break to the upside. Support is 252. SOS, we're also breaking above a downtrend, which is very bullish. We're breaking above a downtrend at two major levels of horizontal support, okay, which is very, very important. So 405 and 422 are our horizontal support levels, and we are trading above this downtrend now, essentially. So those two levels need to hold as support. If that can continue, then SOS can continue on higher. But as you can see, we are trading above the MACD line, so that is a bit overbought now, but overall, it looks very, very bullish for SOS above those two levels of support. The next level of resistance would obviously be the 20 EMA at 484. All right, so SZLS. SZLS, I mean, yeah, so obviously, you know, we're extremely overbought on the MACD. Doesn't look that great. The level that needs to hold is this low from April 9th, which is $70, 70 cents. So 70 cents needs to hold on SZLS. If that can hold, then obviously we can go on much higher. But, you know, this is not a good sign. The fact that we're very overbought at support. The fact that we're overbought at support is pretty scary. And that means that we have a lot of more room to the downside. So I'd be very careful. 70 cents needs to hold. If 70 cents doesn't hold, then I'm out. But I'm not in this. So, yeah, I'd just be very careful. Amazon looks very, very bullish as well. We have earnings on April 29th. 3,300 needs to hold on Amazon. We're very, very oversold on the MACD, sitting at support, essentially, you know, we're somewhat at resistance level as well. 3,300 needs to hold. If it can hold, then we can retest newer highs again prior to earnings. So I just be very careful about, you know, falling in love with any of these stocks during this week. It's going to be very, very interesting. You know, a lot of these tech stocks are going to be reporting earnings. If like Apple or Microsoft or one of these other companies report bad earnings, that can affect the overall tech sector, regardless of, you know, whether this company has good earnings or not. So just take it day to day on these larger FANG companies. All right. XL, you knew that I was bullish on XL, but we broke below this level of support at 620 at 630. So 630 needs to hold. 628 needs to hold on XL. The next level of resistance is going to be the 20 EMA at 769. If we can break above that, then that would be very bullish. But again, you know, 750-ish was essentially a very clean, safe target to the upside. But, you know, as you can see now, we're overbought on the MACD, approaching resistance. So it's not as great of a trade to get into right now. So shorter term, the levels that would need to hold as support is 680. So if 680 breaks and you were in it from down here, then I would take some profits and I would just get out and then try to rebuy along 628. But yeah, so that's essentially it for XL, and that's really it for my analysis for the stock market and all of the technical analysis for all of these other stocks that you guys want me to go over. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you were watching this video this entire time, then I love you, and I hope you have an amazing weekend. I hope you guys have an amazing week. Again, really, really focus. Do not lose focus. If you make a bad trading decision, learn from it. Do not get down on yourself. We're going to have an amazing week. All right, so just take care. Have an amazing Sunday, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.